He lost everything, but what he found in the ruins changed his life forever. The dust still clung to everything, a fine gray shroud over what was left of my life. The fire had taken it all. My home, my workshop, the scent of sawdust and varnish that had been the very air I breathed for 37 years. I, Elias Thorne, a carpenter who had poured his heart and soul into crafting beauty from wood, stood amidst the charred remains, the acrid smell stinging my nostrils, a mirror to the burning emptiness inside me. My hands, once sure and steady, now trembled slightly as I sifted through the debris, each blackened piece a painful reminder of what was gone. The insurance hadn't covered much, a cruel twist of fate in the fine print I'd never bothered to read. My neighbors had offered what they could, a warm meal here, a spare blanket there, kindnesses I accepted with a gratitude that felt heavy and unfamiliar. I'd always been the giver, the one who built sturdy tables for their kitchens, crafted cradles for their newborns. Now, I was the one receiving, a humbling and unwelcome shift. Days turned into weeks, each one a slow, agonizing process of sifting through the ashes, hoping against hope for some small piece of my former life to have survived. A favorite chisel, perhaps, the wooden bird my daughter, Lily, had painted years ago. But the fire had been thorough, leaving behind mostly gray dust and twisted metal. I slept in the community hall, on a cot that felt alien and uncomfortable. The nights were the hardest, filled with the silence of loss, the gnawing emptiness where the familiar sounds of my home used to be. Sleep offered little respite, my dreams often replaying the inferno, the hungry flames consuming everything I held dear. One particularly bleak morning, the sky mirroring the gray landscape of my despair, I found myself drawn back to the ruins. It was a compulsion, a need to connect with what was left, even if it was just ash and sorrow. I walked through the skeletal remains of the walls, the crunch of burnt wood under my worn boots the only sound. I found myself in what had been my workshop, the heart of my existence. The heavy workbench was now just a charred stump, the tools I had cherished melted and fused together in grotesque shapes. Despair threatened to engulf me, a familiar wave of hopelessness washing over me. Then, my foot nudged something solid beneath the ash, something that hadn't completely succumbed to the fire's fury. I knelt down, my fingers carefully brushing away the gray dust, revealing a corner of something wooden. My heart gave a small, hesitant thump. It was a small chest, one I had crafted myself years ago, a simple box made from sturdy oak. It had been tucked away in a corner, almost hidden. Why hadn't the fire consumed it? With trembling hands, I cleared away the remaining debris and lifted the chest. It was heavy, surprisingly so. The wood was scorched and blackened, but it held its shape. The simple latch was fused shut. Back at the community hall, using a borrowed chisel, a pang of loss shooting through me as I held a tool that wasn't mine, I carefully pried open the latch. The wood groaned in protest, finally giving way. Inside, nestled amongst layers of fire-damaged cloth, were things I had forgotten I even owned. Old photographs, their edges singed but the images still visible. Letters, their ink faded but the handwriting still familiar. And at the very bottom, wrapped in a thick piece of canvas that had somehow escaped the flames, was a book. It wasn't a book I recognized. Its cover was plain, unmarked leather, the pages brittle and yellowed with age. It felt old, ancient even. Curiosity, a feeling I hadn't experienced in weeks, stirred within me. Carefully, I opened the book. The script inside was unlike anything I had ever seen. Strange symbols and intricate drawings filled the pages. It looked like some kind of journal or codex, written in a language I couldn't decipher. For days, the book became my focus. I carried it everywhere, its weight a comforting presence in my empty hands. I spent hours studying the symbols, tracing their unfamiliar shapes with my fingers. It was a puzzle, a mystery that pulled me away from the immediate despair of my loss. I showed it to others in the community hall. Mrs. Gable, the retired schoolteacher, examined it with a frown, admitting she had never seen anything like it. Old Mr. Hemmings, who had a fondness for local history, was equally perplexed. The book felt important, significant. There was an energy about it, a silent hum that resonated within me. It was as if the fire had cleared the way for me to find it, as if my loss had somehow led me to this unexpected discovery. One evening, while sketching some of the symbols in a borrowed notebook, a thought struck me. The intricate drawings, They resembled constellations. Could this be some kind of astronomical text? I started researching ancient symbols and star charts at the local library, poring over dusty volumes, my mind finally engaged in something other than grief. Slowly, painstakingly, connections began to form. Some of the symbols did indeed correspond to ancient constellations. The intricate drawings seemed to map the night sky, but in a way that was both familiar and strangely different. Weeks turned into months. The community rallied around me, helping me clear the debris, offering materials and hands to rebuild. It was a slow process, but the act of creation, of working with wood again, began to heal the raw edges of my loss. And always, the mysterious book remained my constant companion, its secrets slowly beginning to unravel. I found references to a lost language, one spoken by a forgotten civilization that had once inhabited this region centuries ago. A language believed to be connected to the stars, their rituals and beliefs intertwined with the celestial movements. Could this book be a remnant of that lost culture? The more I studied the symbols, the more I felt a strange sense of familiarity, an intuitive understanding that went beyond mere intellectual curiosity. It was as if something deep within me recognized this ancient script. One night, under a clear, starlit sky, I held the book open, comparing the drawings to the constellations above. A particular sequence of symbols seemed to align with a specific configuration of stars. Following the lines and dots in the book, my gaze landed on a faint star, one I had never noticed before. As I stared at it, a strange sensation washed over me, a feeling of connection, of resonance. It was as if the star itself was whispering something, a silent message carried across the vastness of space and time. Over the next few months, my understanding of the book deepened. It wasn't just an astronomical text, it was something more profound. It seemed to be a record of their beliefs, their understanding of the universe, their connection to the cosmos. It spoke of cycles of creation and destruction, of the interconnectedness of all things, of a hidden energy that flowed through the universe. And then, I found it. A series of diagrams that seemed to depict a process, a way to harness that hidden energy. The drawings were intricate, almost magical in their complexity. They spoke of focus, of alignment, of using natural materials, wood, stone, crystals, to create a conduit. A memory stirred within me, a fleeting image from my childhood, of my grandfather, a quiet, enigmatic man who had also been a carpenter. I remembered him working on strange projects in his shed, intricate wooden structures that seemed to hum with an unseen energy. He had always told me that wood held secrets, that it was a living thing connected to the earth and the sky. Could this book, this discovery in the ruins of my past, be a key to understanding something my grandfather had known? Could my loss have led me to a forgotten legacy? The rebuilding of my workshop became more than just replacing what was lost. It became a quest, a journey inspired by the ancient book. I started experimenting, using the diagrams as a guide, working with different types of wood, incorporating crystals I found in the nearby hills. It was slow, painstaking work, filled with trial and error. There were moments of frustration, of doubt, but the feeling that I was on the verge of something significant kept me going. The book, once a mysterious object found in the ashes, had become my guide, my inspiration. One cool evening, as the first stars began to appear in the darkening sky, I stood in my newly rebuilt workshop, a strange structure of wood and crystal humming softly in the center. Following the instructions in the ancient book, I focused my intention, aligning my thoughts with the celestial patterns above. A faint energy began to build, a subtle vibration in the air. The crystals pulsed with a soft light. The wooden structure seemed to resonate, as if coming alive. And then, something extraordinary happened. A beam of soft, ethereal light emanated from the center of the structure, reaching upwards towards the sky, connecting with the faint star I had identified months ago. A feeling of profound connection washed over me, a sense of being part of something vast and ancient. The loss of my old life, while still a scar, no longer felt like an ending. It felt like a beginning, a path to a deeper understanding of the universe and my place within it. The fire had taken everything, but in the ruins, I had found something far more valuable than wooden tools. I had found a connection to a forgotten past, a key to unlocking a hidden energy, and a new purpose that stretched far beyond the craft I had always known. My life had changed forever, not in the way I would have ever imagined, but in a way that felt deeply, profoundly right. The ashes of my old life had fertilized the seeds of a new one, a life filled with wonder, discovery, and a connection to the cosmos I could have never conceived before. What do you think was the significance of the book being found in the ruins of Elias's workshop? Do you believe it was a coincidence, or something more?